question that everybody is asking. When will the property price go down enough for us to really jump in? Because in Singapore, for example, residential property are still holding up, and many property in some countries are still holding up. So the question is, when do you think is the right time to jump in during this coronavirus crisis?
Let me just quickly summarize my model for property investment, which is very unique and very distinctive. I don't only teach my friends how to invest in the local market. I teach my friends to invest in the global market. If you feel that the local market is not good enough, we cannot make good enough money, there will always be another country that make good money. And the good news is this: at any one point of time in the property cycle and the economic cycle, there will always be good investment. And the point is not, to study the average property market. You see, most people who are economists, most people who are property investment trainers and coaches, advisors, they teach people how to study the average property price. But remember this: the average property price does not give you an indication on what's the best buy. You can look at a property cycle, and it's an average of two property prices. If let's say somebody sold at $400 per square foot, sorry, $300 per square foot, somebody sold at $1,300 per square foot. Even the best of time, the average of 1,300 plus 300 divided by 2, is $800 per square foot. But during the bad times, if the gap of the property prices become thinner, if somebody bought and sold at $400 and $600 per square foot, the average of two of the property prices is $500 per square foot. But if you look at the two scenarios, you'll find that the one that's selling at $300 per square foot actually is the best buy, basically. So to cut a long story short, it's not a question of looking at the whole block of property prices and say, when do I go in? The most important thing is look for a very good investment property, even during the worst of time. So I have developed what I call a taxonomy of different levels of property investment. I don't know whether if I can quickly share this with everybody to give you a better perspective of how to invest in property. So if you feel that you want to know how to invest in the best property, can you just type in yes? Just type in yes very quickly. If I get at least 5 years, I will quickly share with everybody my taxonomy of how to invest in property. Very good. I've got more than 5 now. So at the lowest level, I call this the underpriced property. I call this the kindergarten level. Kindergarten level means there will always be people who sell a property to you at a very, very low price, especially during a crisis. Let me give you an example. I have a friend who's a CEO of a multinational company. He lost his job, and he had problems servicing his mortgage payment for 2 properties. One of his property, he only owed the bank $300,000. The bank has been very hard on him. The bank has been chasing him. The bank knew that he has no more job, he's got no more salary, and he has been late in his mortgage payment. He was very, very, very worried that the bank would take his property and mortgage it for slightly more than $300,000. And he came to me. And I begged him. I literally went on my knees and begged him, don't sell the property now. You bought it at $1.86 million. Hold on for about 12 to 18 months. The market will turn around. And you can sell a lot at a higher price. But he said, Patrick, I have no choice. I have to sell very, very quickly. Otherwise, I may even suffer greater losses. And my family is really very, very stressed out. And because I need the money very, very quickly, I couldn't, when I advertise, I don't have enough buyers, and people were offering me a ridiculously low price. Cut a long story short, I helped him. I bought his property at $680,000. He was very, very thankful to me. Until today, he is still my friend. He's still so grateful to me for saving him at one of the worst points in his life during a crisis. And we sold the property and made more than $1 million out of this. So this is called the underpriced property level. And then at the primary school level, you invest in what is called undervalued property. If you look at every country, every town, every city, there will be pockets of land where there are lots of interesting development going on. And these developments are planned for, they have been budgeted for, and the authorities have put aside money to complete the project. It could be a new township, it could be new infrastructure, it could be new business hubs, it could be even investment from private developer, big shopping centers, entertainment districts, and these properties are ongoing basically. And if somebody sells you a property, you know that the development continues. And when the development continues, you know the prices will go up, the value will go up, you can make a lot of money. And at the secondary school level or high school level, you invest in what we call value-added property. You see, my friend, compared to any other instrument investment, there's not much thing you can do. You only can pray that prices will go up. But when you invest in property, there are 1,001 ways to change a property. There are gazillion ways to value add to property. There are infinite number of ways to make money from each and every property. Give you an example. When you look at a property, you can tear it down, you can build it up, you can add on, you can subtract, you can change the fixtures, you can change the features, you can change the furnitures, you can change the furnishing. There's so many ways to change a property. Let me give you a very simple example. I like to buy horrible looking property. People say you're stupid. Why buy a horrible looking property? When you see a horrible looking property, it means that the owner don't love the property. And if they don't love the property, they will sell you at a low price, especially during a crisis. And then what I do is that I will renovate the property. Most people will never renovate the property, or they don't know how to renovate the property. I teach my friends how to renovate the property to sell, not to stay or to use. And there's a world of difference. And by doing this, we can, by value adding the property, we can make a lot more money. But at the tertiary level, we go into two other levels. First of all, transforming the value of the property. And then at the highest level, we do value creation. Nobody buy a property because of the brick and mortar. Nobody buy a property because of the area. They buy a property for what the property can do. And there are 1,001 ways that you can use the property for so many different functions. And when you go to that level, you will learn how to buy property with very little or no money down. And if some of you are interested, just type in the next question so that I don't hog the answer for one question. And I'll be more than happy to show you a specific example of how you can transform a property or create value in a property so that you can own a property with very little or no money down. I have to apologize to you because I'm trying to take in as many questions as possible. If I've been going very fast, please type in to get me to slow down so that our moderators can slow me down. When I teach in a class, usually I don't teach at this speed. But because we only have a short period of time, I want to cover as many questions as possible.
1, 2, 3. Wow! In fact, we have people from many countries logging on, and Jeffrey from Philippines with a group of other people, and also from Vietnam. Now we have a request from Vietnam because they are translating to their student. They ask that we speak slowly. So, Mr. Patrick Liu, you speak a little bit slower for our friends who are from Vietnam. Okay, good. Okay, good. Now, many of you have asked a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions online. Patrick just rushing through so that he can cover as many questions as possible for each and every one of you. We do have questions. We do have another session. The other session is on the 15th of April, right? You can look at the screen right now on the 15th of April. Now in this session, Patrick will go a lot more in detail to cover more in depth on skill set, idea, strategy that are lined up one by one, step by step, so that you can actually use a strategy to implement in your city or in your country so that you can profit from it and learn a skill to profit on it even during this crisis, right?
Correct, yeah.
So please take note of this, and in fact you can start the register right now so that you can reserve a place Okay, Patrick Liu 2. Okay, 2 means part 2. Okay, now I count to 10 for you to take note of it. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. Veronica, next question.
Now, I have
And
a
one
question.
little suggestion. One of the things I like to do to convince people who are skeptic that you cannot own properties with very little or no money down is that we do a poll, which means all the students can vote for a particular property, any property. And then I will be happy to show them how to own the property free of charge or with very little money. So if I have the time, we can vote. I can show them how to own land free of charge, residential property free of charge, industrial property free of charge, commercial property free of charge, hotel free of charge, building free of charge. I can even show them how to own a public listed company for $1. Now, most of you will not believe me. You Google my name, Patrick Liu, $1. I think you will have the shock of your life because not too long ago, I bought the assets of a public listed company for $1. I did not buy the assets and liabilities. I bought the assets. And I appeared on the first page of our business newspaper with my photograph and my name. And I appeared on the first page of the business section with my photograph and my name of our local newspaper, of our main daily newspaper. And I became literally famous all over the world. Many stock analysts, including very renowned international stock analyst firm like Motley Fools, actually indirectly say I must be the smartest person on planet Earth. So I will even share with my friends how I actually own a public listed company for $1, unprecedented, but I've done it a few times in my lifetime. And that's the reason why my day job is I represent two of the biggest financial platforms in the world. One in New York, and then the Canadian Stock Exchange is a relatively new stock exchange. And so that's what I do in my day job. I represent stock exchanges. I work with banks. I play in the capital market. I have an ATO license, a real estate license. I have a fund management license from our Monetary Authority of Singapore, our central bank, which is one of the strictest authorities in the world. I'm also going to get an investment license, so I can show my friends, how to leverage on the capital market and be able to own even more properties, and that is really playing at a very, very high level.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
There's one question.
Yeah, Patrick, I have a question. As you probably know, Success Resources, we are all over the world, different country. So we have lots of our friends are logging in from other than Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Asia, UK, Europe, and of course, including our office in South Africa. So I have a question from our South African friend here who asked, Patrick, is there, can I also buy property with no money down, little money down in South Africa?
Thank you very much for the question. My model is to help our students to own properties all over the world. Of course, having said that, you still have to understand the law and the rules and the guidelines in your country. But whatever you do, there are ways and means to still own the property with very little or no money down because I give them many, many options. So I've created a proprietary model, where they can develop their own strategies to own properties, in their own country. So I give you an example. In Singapore, you cannot have a rebate system. The developer cannot take your money and give you a rebate back so that you can leverage on bank borrowing. And then when the developer rebate the money back to you, you only have to pay very little bit of money. But in many parts of the world, it's still acceptable. So don't listen to my example. Don't worry about the price of the property or even the type of property. Understand the principles behind it. Understand the strategies behind it. If you understand the strategies and principles, even if it's not applicable, even if it's not legally acceptable in your country, there are always another ways to go around and achieve the same results. So to my friend in South Africa, yes, I've been to South Africa. I love your country. And I've written in my blog post many wonderful news about your country. I have great admiration for your leaders like Nelson Mandela. And I own properties all over the world. And so whatever models and strategies that I teach my friends, they can apply this anywhere in the world. And they must learn this very, very quickly because many of my models and strategies work even better during a crisis. So don't let this crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, thank you, Patrick, for the question. And I'm sure, Patrick, this is not just limited to in South Africa. Your model, it can be applied to different parts of the world equally, right? Now, I have another question here from Singapore Anonymous Attendees. Says, my husband and I are in our 40s. We own a leasehold property. Should we change it to a freehold property? If yes, when?
Thank you very much for the question. I have many questions that are very similar to this question. Should I have a leasehold property, freehold property? Should I own a residential property or industrial or commercial property? Should I invest, in the east or the west? And my answer to them is you need to reframe your question. The question is not whether you should own a leasehold or freehold property, an industrial or commercial property, a high-end property or low-end property. The important question to ask yourself is this: what investment can help you to make the most money? And I think it's very important because the quality of your life depends on the quality of question you ask yourself. In fact, the quality of your life depends on the quantity of quality question you ask yourself. So coming back to this example, you say, Patrick, should I sell the leasehold property and buy a freehold property? Then we have to then analyze the option. You can hold on to a leasehold property and then you can calculate, over time, what's your projected capital gain? What's your projected rental yield? So that is one option. Second option is this: you sell away the property, you buy a freehold property. Then you have to look at what are the available freehold property. Is this a freehold residential, freehold industrial, freehold commercial property? You must have an option to compare with your original option. And then you start comparing all the various options, and then you know which is the one that gives you the best return, basically. And I always tell my students this, don't just use your heart, use your head. Most people fall in love with the property. They don't fall in love with the numbers. I repeat again, don't fall in love with the property, fall in love with the numbers. So one of the things that I teach my friends, and we do this through many different sessions, is to take a real life property, go through all the numbers, teach them how to source for the numbers, how to verify the numbers, how to make assumptions out of the numbers, and then show them how to do that financial calculation. And it's not rocket science. All you need to do is to have a kindergarten education. You can add and subtract. You will know how much money you can make over a period of time. And with those numbers, you can then weigh your option and see which is the best option for you. And don't be too fixated that you need to buy or sell. So I give you an example. Long time ago, my wife and I decided that we were not the best property that we love to stay in may not be the best property that make the most money. The best property that make the most money may not be the best property to live in. So what we did was, like most of you here, we have a sum of money. And then instead of buying a property and we live in the property, we buy an investment property. And over a period of time, we collect, a growing sum of money from the monthly rental. And we decided to stay in the rental property. Now, let me ask you a question. Is it illegal to stay in a rental property? Is it unethical or immoral to stay in a rental property? No. Some people say, but Patrick, you are compromising your quality of life. Says who? You know, in every country, every city, every town, in every parts of the world, there will be pockets of land where it's oversupplied. In other words, the developers overdevelop the number of properties. As a result, there are many empty properties. And when they're empty property and you're owner of an empty house, you have to rent it at a very, very low price. So for the longest time, my wife and I would stay in a 3-story landed property with a beautiful garden, with a beautiful pond, 7 bedrooms, 5 toilets. And we paid our owner $1,600 per month. Can you imagine we can buy a property, and collect $30,000, $40,000 of rental and pay the landlord $1,600? Actually, by arbitraging these two property, it gave my family a really good quality of life. It supported my children's education until today. They have graduated, they have work, basically. Okay, so during my webinar, this is a free-for-all. I try to answer as many questions as possible, all kinds of questions. But during my free webinar, we'll be more structured. I will share with you my model and my strategies, or at least some of my models and strategies on how to own property with very little or no money down. And I will give you specific example from past crisis, where you can actually own property with very little or no money down. And in fact, this is the worst crisis the world has ever seen for a very long time. And I hate to say this, but I want to be brutally frank. The worse the crisis, the greater the opportunities for people who know how to invest in good investment properties. And my team and I have put together many very exciting free gifts for you, including many learning tools to help you to continue your learning journey, basically. And this is only for people who attend my webinar, so that after attending my webinar, you know what to buy, you know when to buy, you know how to buy, you even know how to own a property with very little or no money down. And all these tools will make a lot of sense for all of you. So join me.
Wow. Okay, Patrick, due to time, and ladies and gentlemen, due to time, we will have just 2 more questions. So these 2 questions will be this. Now, this is a very interesting question. And this question comes from someone that really could represent many of you out there, and probably also similar to me, not so clever, but still want to leverage on this opportunity to make money. So this is a question, okay, and this is actually from Patrick and from David, right? David, and he probably represent a big section of the audience logging in. So this is a question: can I just invest through you, Mr. Patrick Liu, with a net return of 15% guaranteed by a local bank, as I am not keen to learn, nor do I have the time to do research? Okay, many lazy people like ourselves, think of this. And thank you, David, for that question. So Patrick, this is a question for you.
A friend of mine stood up and he says, don't tell me all this. Just tell me what you buy. As long as you tell me what you buy, I will know whether you are a really wise investor. And so from that day onward, I decided, if you are my student, I will share with you whatever properties I buy. I will share with you my research notes. And I'm not afraid, that you'll be smarter than me. In fact, I want you to be smarter than me. I want you to make more money than me, because then you'll become my teacher. And then I will be able to learn more. So I will share with them the properties, and I will also personally guide them. You see, I believe that, at my age now, the best thing for me to do is to mentor the next generation of property investors. So I will not only show them the opportunity, show them what I buy, share with them how I buy this property, I will also personally coach and guide them. And then after a while, people say, Patrick, I want to invest together with you. And this is where I was caught in a really difficult situation. So this is where I seek legal advice, and my lawyer says, go to the central bank, go to the Monetary Authority of Singapore. and apply for approval to manage a fund. But I didn't want my fund management service to be similar to other fund management services. Most fund management services will take your money without telling you what they're going to do with your money. They probably will tell you their track record, and that may or may not mean anything to you. I decided that, in my fund management service, I will find asset first. Then I will show my friends the asset. And then if they're happy, they can invest together with me, and we will give them the prospectus, and we have a team of professionals doing all the proper auditing. I've got proper lawyers, bankers, auditors, and professionals that will do all the due diligence to advise all of us on the viability and the feasibility, the upside and downside of the investment basically. So if you're an accredited investor, I'll be happy to share with you, but understand about property investment, I share with my students who have become intelligent investor, and when they see what I show them, they are in a position to make better informed judgment basically. So yes, I have such a possibility, but I really want to help my student because they understand where I'm coming from and they know how to invest wisely basically. So I invest only in, I have a fund management service, there's asset back, which means that when we invest in property, we co-own the property together. This is not via another third party, via another entity. We actually register a company and together we own a property. And then for the last 17 years or so, all the property investment I've done, we have all made money. And particularly in the last 5 to 10 years, most of my property investments are getting double-digit growth every year, double-digit net return every year. And I'll be happy, if you're my student, I'll be happy to show you real-life example of properties I've invested in the past. I will also show you property I'm currently investing, currently being marketed, and share with you why I'm so confident I will get double-digit return every year.
Wow. Patrick, so many people have signed up for the 15th of.
Can I make one suggestion? Because I think I have some students and they will remember once upon a time I encouraged them to invest in a place north of Melbourne in Australia called Epping. Even my Australian friends think it's stupid. But I told them when I look at the master plan, Melbourne is getting very congested. They need to develop another business district. And the master plan showed that they are going to put in a lot of money to develop the northern area in an area called Epping, as another business district to support the country, support Melbourne and support Victoria at the same time. So the government put in a lot of money to clear land, improve the infrastructure, put in all the ecosystem of support and services, created amenities and facilities, schools, universities, government bodies, basically. And to cut a long story short, I have some of my friends who invested in the property over there. And shortly after that, that area that we invested in became the #1 best-selling area, highest growth area in the whole of Australia. #1. Okay? And that's because if you're my student, I will share with you my research notes. If you look at my research notes, I dare to say I've not met anybody that do such a deep analysis before they invest in a property.
Wow. Now, just now we announced Patrick's part 2. Part 2.
15 April.
On 15 April, many hundreds of you has already registered. For example, thank you, Mr. Lee T. Lee, Leon Tien, Richie, Chia Ling, Lim, YC Lim, Ruwana, Mak Shen, Sito, Oi Lung, and many of you have signed up. So please do take note of 15th of April, this is a Wednesday at 2 p.m. Okay,
Time, yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of more ideas and practical ideas, step by step, that you can which is more in-depth, that you can use for strategy to create wealth through property at that time. So Patrick is going to share with you a lot of in-depth that you can use right now. So last question, Mr. Patrick Liu, last question, and this is where majority of people around the world are facing, the majority of people around the world are facing is this. We don't have lots of money, but we don't mind to make a lot of money. Okay? We don't have lots of money, but we don't mind to make lots of money. So the question to you is this. Now, this webinar is about creating wealth or investing in property with little or no money down. So the question for you is this: if a person has 30 to 50,000 in cash, and we read somewhere that you can already start helping them to own their property. So can you share with all of us online right now some of your track record of your student who have learned from you, who has little money or but don't mind to make lots of money, and how you have helped them to achieve this? Patrick.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier on, if you have been with me, some of my properties have some of my students have started owning property, with no money down, from 10,000 to 20,000 to 30,000 to $50,000. And earlier on, somebody from Malaysia just called in and says, "Tell me how to own a property in my country." I've given him a very specific example. Actually, I gave him a lot of clue, and with the clue I've given him, he can easily find out which property it is. So these are the deals that I bring to my student basically. Maybe like they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Why don't I find a specific project and show all of you on how you can own this property with very little or no money down? Would that be a good idea? Show you a real life example. If you want to see a real life example, can you type in yes? If you type onto the chats, yes. If I see more than 20, yes. Okay. So let me look for a real life project. Let me go to my phone, because every time I invest in property over the years, I take a photograph of a property. I sometimes take a video of the property and see whether I can find something I can show all of you. For example, this is a property I just bought. I don't know whether you can see it. Can somebody help me to adjust this? Can you see this property? This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful heritage property. Okay, and if you're my student, I will show you a clearer picture, and I will show you the words that are being inscribed on the wall. This is the original library in England, and this library is located right at the heart of the business district, right at the heart of the shopping centers areas, right at the heart of the entertainment hub. Now, the owner went into a lot of problem. Why? Because of the current crisis. Why? Because of the aftermath of Brexit. Why? Because the whole country is going through some major challenges at this point in time. So he had to downsize his business. He had to move his whole operation to a smaller space. If he don't do that, his business is gone. And not only will his business collapse, he will lose all his business, he will lose his employees, he will have problem financially, and this will snowball to having major personal problems and family problem basically. So he approached one of our developers, and he wanted to rent a space from this developer. Now he could not move into a smaller space unless he sells this building. So he's in a catch-22 situation. There are not many buyers around, and not many people are willing to do a very quick deal with him. And there are a lot of people who are investing, who are offering him at some unbelievable prices. Basically, cut a long story short, he sold the whole property to our developer at way below market price, way below replacement cost, way below construction cost. And the interesting thing about this property is this. There's a university next door, and the university next door run degree program for really very how do I put it, arty-farty subjects: creative media, arts, performing arts. And these are usually students who come from very rich and wealthy family, because it's a very expensive course, and they've been around for a very, very long time. And when the developer approached the university, and they were very happy, they were very happy to say, we would like to rent this building as part of their expanded campus. They want to use the building also for their administration operation. They also want to convert part of this building into a student housing project. So can you imagine, you can own this property at a very, very low price, and then you have a very credible tenant that is going to sign a contract with you and virtually offer you a guarantee. That means you will have a guarantee for the next 3 to 5 years. The only question you need to ask yourself is this: when will this pandemic come to an end? Now, most experts says, it will be around 12 to 18 months basically. At least 5 countries have suggested they are testing a vaccine or testing a therapy. 2 weeks ago, Johnson & Johnson announced that they are ready to do human tests for a potential vaccine. They cannot make the announcement unless they've done sufficient clinical tests to know that it may work. They are public listed company. They cannot make an announcement like this because they will be answerable, to the authorities basically. So I believe this pandemic is going to last for 12 to 18 months. And after the 12 to 18 months, if you invest in a property like this, you will be able to see the capital value go up and the rental value go up. You can make tons of money. And this is not the only idea. There are many, many more ideas I can share with you if I'm given more time basically. I want to just share with you a story about my food reflexologist. My food reflexologist, migrated to our country, and he couldn't find a job, and then he became a food reflexologist. I mentor him. Within 5 years, he made about $20 million. Today, he's happily retired. He put his 2 sons to two of the best universities in the world. He has also gone back to study, and today he trained, literally all over the world. I hope to be able to help you just like I helped this gentleman, not only to retire happily, not only to provide for the loved ones, but to be able to give back to society. And we have a growing network of property investors. We will be able to do much more for the poor, the needy, and the disadvantaged. And when all our financial literacy level go up, I believe with all my heart, we can make this world a better place to live in. Thank you very much for giving me the honor to share with all of you. I look forward to meeting you once again in our free webinar, where I'm given a bit more time, where we can be a bit more structured, a bit more systematic, where I can share with you methodically, how you can own, what property you can own, when you can own a property, how you can own a property, and how you can own a property with very little or no money down. So I look forward to seeing all of you at my next free webinar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Patrick, don't go first because we have a lot of people who sign up for the next webinar on the 15th. So I was thinking maybe you could give us a little tips on what's the outline and what will you be sharing in the next part 2 of your webinars.
Based on the question we have received today, as well as questions I've been taking in, especially during this crisis, I think there are essentially 4 things that people are very concerned about. The first question is, Patrick, what should I invest in? The second question is, when should I invest? The third question is, how should I invest to be rich and wealthy? And the fourth question is this: how can I own a property with very little or no money down? I will try within a very short webinar to cover as much as I can these 4 questions. What to invest, when to invest, how to invest, how to own a property very, very quickly if you are an average income earner as soon as possible. Make use of the crisis, the opportunities that are available, so that when the crisis is over, you will put yourself in a better financial position and you will be able to make money, to be able to do more good and live a better life and achieve more for your life.
Okay. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And I've learned lots of tips and strategy in this session. Have you learned anything?
Oh, so much.
Yes. So for all of you that is logging on, I want to thank you for your time, especially this Saturday, where you could be doing many other things. But I want to assure you that the time that you spend here is really worth the while. Yeah. So many of you have learned lots of things, and we want to thank you for thanks to Success Resources and the team
Put this together,
for putting this together, even on this weekend and even in this lockdown period, right? And we want to see you in the next session. So this is Richchad TAN,
Veronica Tan
from Success Resources. Be safe. Be safe. Okay, good. See you soon. Bye bye.